What is up, everybody? It's Sam, and we are back with another episode of Pessimistic at Best, the podcast with friend of the pod and former guest, Abby. Hey, Ab.
Hello. It is such an honor to be a two-time guest. I thought I peaked when I was on the first time, but now life is even better.
Yay. Well, I'm so glad to have you back on, and it's hilarious because, I mean, obviously you're always welcome on the pod, but we kind of had no choice but to record this episode because I serendipitously saw you very recently against all odds.
Which is still the craziest thing ever. And that's my litmus test for how well I get along with someone is if I tell them that story and they're blown away, or if they're okay, and are on to the next thing. I'm no, you guys, this is actually insane that this happened.
I know. I've been doing that to anyone who will listen. And also, I mean, the amount of times that I've told any of my coworkers, my mom, my dad, my mom's heard this story now 5 times. I told everybody at Easter, I'm doing the whole 9 yards.
I told my mom and she immediately was you have to text your grandma. And so those are my people though, who it's want to share it. Cause it really I feel it would be crazy if we were even there just the same week. I mean, that's a 1 in 52 odds, but I guess
literally
even lower because it's not normal to just go there for a week.
Right.
On a whim.
So true.
So yeah. And then to be on the same flight, I mean, that's a 1 in a billion chance. I feel there's probably a billion flights going off every day.
Really? I know. Well, and for those of you who weren't on this trip with us, Abby and I both went to London. Abby and I met in study abroad. If you haven't listened to the first podcast episode, please go back and do it because we chat all about study abroad and our glory days. But yeah, Abby and I met during study abroad in London in 2017. So literally 5 years ago, which is so crazy. And this was my first time going back to London, was my trip with James since study abroad. I meant to go sooner. Pandemic happened, everything was keeping me away from Europe at the time. And I was thinking how crazy it was that, I mean, if I think about all the ways it lined up, our original flight was supposed to connect out of JFK. So the fact that it got moved up 3 hours and we were now connecting out of Charlotte. And then I see this girl get on the plane and she had her little cap on. And I was I swear to God, that's Abby Mackinnon. And I was I couldn't quite get a good look at you. I was trying really hard. And you were making your way into your seat. Also, only a row ahead of us. I mean, those are big planes. You could have even been on that plane and I wouldn't have known.
No, it's so true. It is so true. And I feel I was kind of in a little grouchy mood because I had just tried to actually get on a different plane that would get me in a couple hours earlier and they said no. And then I couldn't get my iPad to work. It was an iPad that my old coworker had that she never gave back, and then I somehow ended up with it. And I was trying to set it up at the airport.
Sisterhood of the traveling iPad.
That was it's none of us own it, and then I couldn't set it up because it belonged to our office, which is fair that they have some security measures in place. But that was my whole insurance policy for keeping myself entertained on the plane was to watch Love Is Blind on the big screen, and that was off. So I was just kind of in a bad mood, walking into the plane. So yeah, head was down, cap was on.
I know.
And I wasn't looking to be found.
Of course, because who the fuck would ever expect that? And so I kept it to myself, but I couldn't stop trying to sneak peek at you. And for context, it's one of those giant planes where it's 3, 4, 3. So we were in the little 4 section in the middle. Abby was 1 row up and off to the left, which is also just so crazy. So I was okay, I'm going to say something to James. So I tapped James on the shoulder and I was I swear to God, I think that's Abby Mackinnon from Study Abroad. And he was there's no way. And I was yeah, you're right. There isn't. And he was well, you have to go and see. So of course I'm and me, who is someone who does not like to be perceived or perceive others, I was okay, I'm going to go and stare at this woman. And when it's not her, it's going to be fucking weird. But I did it anyways. And sure enough, it was literally you, which was just so funny. The sweet little couple next to you was clearly getting such a kick out of it because I was what the hell are you doing here? So it was so crazy. And then also the fact that we had a seat open. I mean, what are the odds?
It's like actually insane. Like truly crazy. And then also it was, I don't know if you realized, but like so many people around us were like giving us like the stink eye for talking.
Because we talked for like 4 hours.
But it's like planes are like public spaces. Like you're allowed to talk on them. But I was telling one of my friends who, Lexi, who like lives in the UK, and she was like, no, British people like do not talk on planes. She was like, it is like the craziest thing. Like
we were definitely
just, like,
getting the devil eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we were respectful. Like we, when like they like manufactured nighttime in the plane, we kind of wrapped it up, but then picked it back up when we landed.
Right. As soon as like food and beverage service was over and they decided to shut off all the lights. It really is crazy, in my opinion, how far that technology has come, because they can, I mean, when they turned on the daytime lights, I was like, the sun is literally rising in this plane right now. It's crazy.
It's so crazy. They have like so much power. But I was wondering like if I would enjoy that. And I think it would kind of stress me out. Like, do you want to turn the lights on when people are sleeping, or like, do you want to turn them off when people are chatting? I don't know. It just seems like something a human shouldn't have control over.
Totally. And it's like, it literally feels like a human experiment or something. It works though, because when they turned the lights on, I was like, okay, time for breakfast. Literally, that was so funny. But that honestly was awesome, because Abby was able to come over and sit by us. Also, it was your first time meeting James and vice versa. So that was cool, because you've both obviously heard so much about each other. So, and he did edit your first podcast episode.
No, it was so delightful. And I just feel like I have to give him a shout out, because truly, like, well, hopefully, like, none of my friends are listening to this, but like, I don't like people's boyfriends like rarely blow me away, and I feel like James just like totally did. So that's always just like such a good feeling, It's like, okay, there are like fun guys out there.
It's true. Yeah, that's a good reminder to never settle. James is definitely going to be smiling when he hears that. But I mean, not to toot his own horn, but I agree. He's pretty cool. Yeah. I do date him for a reason. Yeah.
And I would not have expected like anything less from you, because you are also so cool. I like tell my friends, I'm like so honored that that Sam will like be seen with me in public. Like you're like way cooler than me.
Well, James was also so just happy to meet you. And he was like, she's just a little ray of sunshine. I was like, I know. I think Abby's like the happiest person I've ever met, but not in like not in that false positive way either. Like, you know how to complain. You're just a very happy person.
And I complain I can. So yeah, that's why I am so happy to be on this podcast specifically.
But yeah, just that whole trip was so serendipitous. It was so crazy. I mean, I was like, the stars are literally aligning right now. I've never heard of anything like this. And it couldn't have worked out better, frankly, because they moved the flight up. I mean, we got in so much earlier than even initially expected. So our Airbnb, we had like several hours before it was going to even open, or before we could get inside. So it was awesome to see Lexi. I haven't seen her in forever, obviously. When was the last time you saw her?
It would have been a couple years ago. I think when she came to Missouri, like, I guess it was probably like 2 summers ago. So yeah, it had been a while for me too.
Yeah. Well, and it was cool to like see her apartment. I mean, she's totally living the London life. I'm horrendously jealous. But props to her, because that's the dream.
I know. And it was, her like area was so cute too. It was like cute. So posh feeling.
So like residential. Yeah, it's hilarious. James and I were like chatting about, we had some Airbnb issues because
I did listen to the last week's episode, so I'm all caught up.
We did have some Airbnb issues. I actually just saw that Tom, our host, wrote me a review, and Airbnb does that thing where I can't see his review until I write mine of his place. So I need to do that, but I'm like really nervous.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think it is hilarious, like, what hosts write about you.
I know.
Because it's kind of like weird. It's kind of like if you can can pay for it. Like that's all that should like mostly matter unless you like trash the place. But
well, like hotels don't do that of you.
Yeah, exactly. It should be like as a customer, like I should be able to be anonymous. But with that being said, it is like I think so like cute when they get really personal. Like I remember,
which I guarantee Tom is not going to be doing any of that.
I have one from like study abroad from a woman in like Copenhagen that was like, Abby and her friends were like so warm and like so delightful, blah blah blah. And
That's I have so sweet. You're like, I interacted with you once over the internet.
Exactly. But I'm like, yeah, okay, so this is a good review. I'm like, how do I pin this to the top of my profile? Right. Or like I had one, my ex-boyfriend when I was like living in London, he and I stayed in this like little cottage in like small town England, and the host was like, Abby and Pablo were the perfect couple, and I'm like, how did you pick up on that?
Hilarious. That's crazy. Did they even meet you?
They did meet us very briefly, but yeah, I guess they were like very impressed by our like relationship dynamic.
That's awesome.
Also, like, what bearing does that have on me as an Airbnb guest?
Right. They make the perfect match. Yeah. That's so funny. I know. Well, and I can't quite tell what role Tom is trying to play because sometimes he acts like he's like a liaison between the actual owner of the flat that we stayed in and like us. But also we like poked around a little because as one does when you're staying in an Airbnb, and like we opened one of the books up and it was like dedicated to Tom. Someone had written in it. So it was like, okay, Tom, I'm pretty sure you live here or something. Like this is your property. And he was also trying to like send these messages via the Airbnb Messenger app, which does not allow automation. And he would like just put in parentheses at the top of his message, this is an automated message, and then like say a bunch of stuff. And it's like, you know what, Tom? No, it's not. You copy and pasted that, and we all know it. So
I'm thinking about like if you're on Hinge or something, like kind of like stealing that.
Right.
Just kind of like see what people would say.
Well, and he did it about things that he just like didn't want to have to say himself, right? So he'd be like, this is an automated message. You need to check out tomorrow and you're expected to take out the trash or like whatever. It was also so crazy because of all the Airbnbs, the amount of work we had to do in preparation for checking out was like kind of crazy. Like I was like, isn't that what we pay for the cleaning service for? Like, what the hell?
No, it has gotten absolutely crazy. Like, because I know you guys were there for like a week, so like Airbnb is totally worth it. But honestly, if you're someplace for like a weekend, like 2 nights, it's better to just stay in a hotel because the fees like will add 50% to your like nightly stay.
Yeah, and you have to watch out for that too, because they'll have like their like when Airbnb is showing you them, or when I was adding a bunch to my like wish list or whatever for this trip, I'm looking at the cost per night, but then when you actually like look at it in the end, all those service fees, cleaning fees, whatever really vary. So like that's not even a good indicator of how much it's actually going to cost you. It was very expensive, which hotels were too. That's just London. Like it's a pricey city, but our heat didn't work. I mean, the whole 9 yards. It was like, and frankly, the Airbnb was like not nearly as cute as it looked on the pictures.
That sucks. And what made you choose this one specifically, like when you were browsing?
Honestly, it was on the cheaper end. And I think that I was looking for a lot that were obviously close to like where my old dorm was, which is totally what I wanted. And a lot of the ones right around the Old Town station, which I'm glad we didn't do because it looks like that station was under construction. But a lot of those were like 2 bedrooms. And James was like, well, we clearly don't need that much space. Which they were only like $20 or less more per night. So like maybe it would have been worth it. I don't know. But I mean, it was just so crazy. And it was so funny, Abby. We like ended up saying something about the heat. He was it was interesting the stuff he chose to be fancy about because he had like a Nest, right? Like that's like a nice thermostat in your house. And he had like all these crazy like dimmers on the lights and like all like very odd things to choose. when maybe like, if you could just remove the dead flowers, we'd all be happy. And we ended up saying something, and a plumber shows up at the house on like the last day that we were going to be there. And he didn't even know what the issue was. He thought we lived there. He came in when I was in the shower. It was just a hot mess.
And Tom didn't send you an automated message about this like routine maintenance.
Well, it was because we had complained about the heat. But then, so why is a plumber showing up? It was just so nuts. And we had to get our key from like a corner store, which was also very strange. The whole bit just didn't quite seem secure. I don't know.
To me, it feels like Tom is a single man running this Airbnb.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
If there was a woman involved in this operation, like this is like none of that shit would have happened.
No. And frankly, I usually stay in Airbnbs that are run by women, and it was never a purposeful choice. That's just kind of how the cookies crumbled in the past. And they always will have like, my last Airbnb that I stayed in had like a little sign with my name on it when I walked in, some snacks,
If
like
there are flowers, they're alive.
Yes, literally. And so, some of those nice little touches, or when they have like the black towel for makeup removal, those sorts of things.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. Maybe like Airbnb should have a policy. Like you have to like have a woman in your life if you want to run one.
Put the woman's touch. Yeah. Literally. I know. It was so crazy. And I did smear my makeup all over Tom's white starchy towels. So perhaps that'll be in my review.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like so scared to see it. What I also don't know is if Airbnb hosts can see it regardless of me reviewing Tom. I need to put in my review, but I want to say that the heat didn't work and I wouldn't necessarily recommend staying there, but I also feel insecure about it because he's gotten glowing reviews up until now.
No, that's where I would probably write a glowing review myself and like include the bad things, but be like, the heat didn't work, but that didn't matter because the location could not have been better.
Exactly. And it wasn't a good location. I love Shoreditch. I'm very biased to that area. So
it is so cool.
It was fun, but it was just so crazy to be back in that place and for you to be there. And the fact that we were both staying a week was like actually nuts.
Because we got to hang out. I feel like we hung out like 3 times, right?
I know.
That's like, good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And also our like good fortune continued off the plane when we got into Dishoom without waiting for a single second.
Honestly.
That was so crazy.
That's like unheard of, and I think it was also a Sunday, wasn't it? So like that's not even, That was so fun, and that was a great dinner. I think it was also nice to just have some time, the 3 of us. Like, it was so fun. It was just the best.
Yeah, so we went to a little pub, except, okay, the pubs closed like early.
I know. I was wondering if that was just a Sunday thing.
No, it happened to us on a Wednesday, too. It was like 11 in Soho, and everything was closed.
Interesting. So I wonder if that's like post-pandemic or something.
Yeah. And it's kind of like on one hand, it's annoying because like if you're out, you kind of want to like stay out. But on another hand, it's like, this is why I loved London because you didn't have to go out at like 12:30, you know? Exactly. It's like you could just go out at 8 and then that was the night. And that's how I like to live. So
totally. Yeah, we finally made our way to Maltby the following weekend. Abby and I share love for the same market, which is the Maltby Street Market. I also feel like part of the reason it was so fun was because it wasn't necessarily like super touristy, which who are we to say as Americans, but
I was going to say the same exact thing because it's like only open on the weekends. It's like a little bit out of the way to get to. Like there's not, it's not like it's like right next to like a tube stop or anything. And yeah, the food is just like so good.
Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah.
And it's not so overwhelming. Like I feel like at like Camden and stuff, because they're so popular, and then there's like, it can just be so hard to choose too, because there's like this like crazy mac and cheese, but then these like, I don't know, everything's like a little crazy. Or like Maltby Street, it just feels more approachable.
Definitely feels more authentic and stuff. Something I thought was interesting in the 5 years since I've been, like Camden, not so much Borough. I love Borough Market, but Camden Market, even like Spitalfields, like both of those have gotten a lot more commercial or something. Like even just the setup is like different.
I feel like it's this like curb, like street food thing kind of like took them all over.
Yeah.
I think at least in Camden, there's a lot like that. Yeah.
And they're
There's
all
one
like
thing.
cookie cutter, like they all look the same, and then they have like a similar printed menu. And don't get me wrong, I mean the sort of like structure looks more sound and permanent compared to like the tents that they used to set up, but I just feel like it's not as charming, I guess.
No, I totally agree. And it's just like a good reminder that if there's one thing a corporation is going to do, they're going to get involved.
100% in the worst way. They're kind of going to fuck up the vibe. Yeah. Which is totally what happened. We went to Spitalfield, I think twice. And like, granted, we were staying very close by. And I just remember that being so charming, and it had all those little stalls, and like people would just set up shop. And we went on one of the days where they were doing the antique show. So it was still like fun, but it felt way more, it just felt way more, yeah, like industrial or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So when I like lived there, one of my like really good friends lived around the corner from Spitalfields Market. So we would go there for lunch a lot, which was super fun. But I remember feeling like it didn't have as many food options as I remembered. Like when the bagel burger was there, like that was like the peak of Spitalfields Market.
Totally.
Yeah. So I feel like this time I didn't end up going to it just because I guess it didn't work with my schedule, but I also just didn't feel like it had like as many food options as like Maltby Street would. But I guess you get like the antiques and stuff instead. But yeah, Maltby is just like I think like God tier market to go to.
I know, and it's literally overflowing with charm. I mean, that little street is just the cutest thing ever, and half of the restaurants are like spilling out from under a train track. It's like incredible.
It's incredible. And there's all those like little flags, and then there was like this chic little homeware shop that we bopped into, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, I'd like to be a girl who shops here.
I know. We got a beer in one of the places. Granted, it was probably like too cold to sit in there, and they absolutely did not have heat. And coming from a non-heated Airbnb, I will say, I think I was cold the whole week. I think like literally freezing. The price you pay. And so we like stopped in there for a little bit, and then we like bopped around to another place to get beer. And we actually came back that night and went to, have you ever been to 40 Maltby, the restaurant that's right there?
No, but it sounds cool.
It was very cool, and it's in one of the little arches. And I just happened to stumble upon it because I was like looking at some list with like a bunch of dinner options in the area, and it was highly recommended. And so we popped in there. They like change the menu every week, so it's constantly rotating. One of the best meals I've ever had. It was like, we tried probably like 4 or 5 things, and we just shared everything. There was like this really delicious like I want to say it was like squash or something quiche, and it was like the most buttery melt in your mouth thing I've ever had in my life. And then these really good like fried onions. There's so many good things, and it was like a really fun meal. They helped you with wine pairings and stuff. And Quinn, Joseph Quinn, came into the restaurant, which I was like, that is really cool. He didn't stay, but he considered it.
Okay, that is freaking dope. Oh my gosh, now I'm like, I have to go back and go there.
Yeah, it was so cool. Good. And all the people who worked there were so nice. And like, I don't know, you could just tell that they care about what they're doing in the kitchen. Like the food was so good. And James and I also had, you probably heard this on the last podcast already, but we also had these really, really good bao buns, like right by, which of the markets? I think it was the Borough Market. Yeah. And it was like bao that I'll be thinking about it for the rest of my life. It was so good.
It was so hard for me to hear that because I was like, damn, like I should have gone there too. I'm like, why didn't I just like follow Sam and James around and like stay for 2 extra days?
Seriously. But yeah, I know. It was just so fun. Also, to be back at Piano Works with you, I was like, to be back here 5 years later with Abby Mackinnon is something I literally never ever thought would happen in my whole life.
No, I really felt the same way. And I was like, I feel like there were certain like times in that trip where I really did feel like it was 2017 again.
I know.
And part of me was like horrified by it, but like has there been no personal growth? But then at the same part, I was like, that was probably the best year of my life. So like, I'm glad to know I like, still have a little bit of the 2017 like magic inside.
I know. I mean, literally same. I felt like we were reliving the glory days in the truest sense of the phrase. Like, it was so much fun. James had so much fun at that bar too. He was like, that place rocks. And they actually hire really good people to perform, even though they're just taking requests. I was like, yeah, no, they have a lot of talent. It's crazy.
It's just so crazy. I know. I'm like, I just don't know why it's not like a more popular format. I know obviously like piano bars are like, you can find them around pretty easily, but like I've never ever seen one with like a full band before. It's only ever been like one piano player.
Right. Yeah. And like, I mean, they had the whole 9 yards. They had a guy on guitar. They had a fucking saxophone. They had drums. It was crazy.
It's crazy. And then isn't it like great to see that there's jobs out there like for saxophone players?
Yeah,
I'm like,
honestly,
we need more of this. We need to be supporting the arts.
That is so true. And he was killing it. And even the songs, I love that there were some songs where obviously a saxophone might not come into play. So then he was kind of serving as backup dancer. And I was like, perfect. He's never not needed on stage. Which is
that
awesome.
Is like one type of guy I would love to date before I die, is a saxophone player.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that. Yeah, can you put that as a Hinge requirement? Plays saxophone. This sun is being extremely unforgiving to me right now, but that's okay.
Is it like hurting your little eyes? Do you want to get some sunglasses?
It actually doesn't hurt that bad, but it's definitely the sun. The sun is setting. So if you're watching this video, I apologize to anyone who's potentially seeing this. This is going to be my first Zoom video. I'm going to give that a whirl since I've started doing video podcasts.
Okay, how fun. Well, I, do apologize for I didn't really like dress up for the occasion. I'm so sorry. It was like a work from home day,
Same, literally. I know, actually right up until this I was having kind of like an awful work day, so this was everything and more. I was looking forward to it all day.
Okay, that makes me so happy. I know, it's like I get to like hang with Sam. It is funny how like I feel like the older you get, the more like virtual like phone call plans like kind of actually feel like a real plan, which is like so fun. Because it used to just be like, oh, I'll give you a call. But now it's like, no, we're like hanging out.
No, it literally feels like you're in the room with me, which is awesome. I know. I wonder if some of that is exacerbated from pandemic too, because like that's like how we would hang out for like a year, which was so crazy. And then
that is so true.
That's when I was like fully invested in like Zoom book club and Zoom hangs and Zoom happy hours, like the whole 9 yards. Sort of glad that era's over, but it's still nice to be able to like do this and be able to talk to people who, like you, I'm not anywhere close to you physically right now.
It's so true. It's so true. I was never that good at like the Zoom era of things. Like I did like I joined a Zoom book club like for one session, and I just like I'm like I know myself, and I know I'm literally never gonna read these books, and so like I'm gonna leave the room. And then one time there was like a work happy hour like put on, and this was like really early pandemic, and it was put on for like I don't know 4 p.m. or something, or like 3 p.m. So like it's called a happy hour. Like I had my mom make me a skinny margarita, and I was the only one who like brought a drink to the like Zoom happy hour, and that's when I'm just like, okay, maybe these aren't my things. So yeah,
so
I think
funny.
I'm better at like one-on-one Zoom hangs.
I mean,
I feel like I can like read the vibe a little better.
A one-on-one Zoom is definitely a lot less awkward. We did a lot of Zoom happy hours back in the day, and like, granted, everyone did have a drink in their hand, but like you're all talking over each other, and the Zoom's like cutting in and out, and nobody knows what to say when or who's addressing who. It's honestly, it's a horrible time, and the amount of anxiety that I have when I'm on that Zoom call is like through the roof.
It's so true. And then when you start like doing novelty backgrounds, it's like, it's time to log off.
Oh my God, 100%. Yeah. I know. It's something that's so funny. It's honestly very sweet, but it's like hilarious that my company does this for like Employee Appreciation Month. They like made everyone a Zoom background. And it's like, that is so cute and awesome, but I feel really silly using that. So I'm probably not going to.
That is like the most like creative agency, like like kind of like cringe, like really specific type of cringe. Like every time I'm in like a brainstorm, sometimes I'll throw out an idea and I'm like, I know they're going to pick this and like, I'm going to regret ever putting this out into the universe. But it's like, okay, budget is low. Like we need to put like maximum creativity. It's like, okay, why don't we do a QR code for like a Spotify playlist? Everyone's like, ooh, great idea. And it's like, no one's ever going to listen to this playlist.
I know. And you spend like a good couple hours curating and you get like 5 plays and it's all internal, but that's okay because sometimes it's just about making the client happy, I think.
It's so true. And so it's just like whenever I throw around shit like that, I'm like, okay, well, at least I guess it's like I'm working to keep my job. You know, it's like the more
exactly
like show your thinking.
I know. My work has really been testing me recently. Don't get me wrong. Love working for an agency. It's very entertaining and fun. I love the fast pace and it keeps me very busy. But there are some times when it's just like absolutely overwhelming, which I think is the nature of the business. But the amount of like on my toes thinking I've had to do recently, I don't have a good idea left. I just don't have one.
No, and that's why you would need to like constantly be taking vacations to recharge your brain.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. Literally use all your PTO, everybody. That's what it's for.
I was in my class the other day after like spring break and one of the students was like, oh, you know, I was like really burnt out. Like I was like, oh, I'm so glad you got to recharge over your spring break. And I was like, let this be a reminder to use your PTO, people. Totally. And I was like, and if you're working in Missouri, they're not legally required to pay you out. So it's of no benefit not to use it.
Look
and I can tell they're all just like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, they're like, who is this cringe bitch? I'm like on a soapbox about like, employment law. But it is like just so important to take your PTO. And I feel like especially in your first job, it's so easy to like get this weird perception that it looks bad to take your time off, which is so just gross and like not the case. So, or it's like gross that we're made to feel that way.
And you do worse work too, you know? So it's like a double-edged sword. I think it's so funny too that like your students like don't care about it or aren't really listening to it because like as soon as they get to their job, they're going to be so thankful for that advice. But I feel like when you're in college, it's so hard to like even picture yourself working some sort of 9 to 5.
No, it's so true.
They're like, that could never be me.
Yeah.
I still think it's so crazy that you're literally a professor, but that's fucking awesome.
It is like, yeah, it's pretty crazy that they like let me do that. And it's also just like crazy because I do feel like my students like don't respect me at all. I think I'm both like too old and too young to like really hold their attention. So yeah, it's definitely like a weird vibe.
Well, and because they're probably all like, would that generation be considered Gen Z students now?
No, they are. And so they're always talking about like our generation. Like I remember one time someone like pitched like a video concept or something and it was like old song, like throwback songs. And she's like, yeah, like our older siblings listen to. And it was like definitely like my
okay, that's a dig. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's
fascinating. And then I can like feel myself like separating from them like in a bad way. Like I'll throw a headband on to like look like I've like done something with my hair. And I'm like, fuck, they don't wear headbands.
Yeah, literally. That is, yeah. I actually think we wrote an article about that recently in the Tease. It is considered a millennial staple, the headband.
They were okay, like talking. We're like working with like Levi's right now, like working air quotes. And someone did like a thing about like I had an idea about how like skinny jeans are out. And I was like, yeah, you know, like I might be kind of out of touch, but like I don't wear skinny jeans and like trying to
You're like, no, guys, I'm cool. Well, okay. And frankly, nobody talks about how hard it is to be a cusp, millennial, Gen Z, because we're on the cusp.
We are. And I feel like the people are always trying to like kick me out of like the millennial category,
totally.
But I'm like, so firmly 2 feet planted in, not because I think millennials are better or cooler, just like fundamentally, I have nothing in common with Gen Z. Like they are like so much cooler, trendier. I feel like the way their brains work is like kind of different. And I'm just like, if you guys put me in that category, like I am going to be the black sheep, but not in a cool way. Like they're all just gonna like eat me alive. So like, please take me, millennials.
Totally. I feel you on that. I feel the same. I feel very much a millennial. With the exception of like maybe how quickly both you and I pick up technology. I wouldn't even say I'm that tech savvy, but other than that, Gen Z scares the living shit out of me. Like there's no way.
No, they are crazy. And I've like worked with like Gen Z people before, and I feel like the way they approach work is like so different. And again, not in like a bad way necessarily, but I saw this one like TikTok or something, and it was saying how like boomers will like stay at a job that like treats them like shit for like 70 years, like will not even question it at all. And like
saw
Gen
that with
Z
my
will have,
parents.
like,
totally.
Yep, 100%. And Gen Z will have like one bad day and then like quit on the spot. And like I really do feel like that is the energy that they bring.
100%. Yeah, no, there's no question about that. I know. Well, and also they very much like they treat everyone as their equal, which is awesome, but also like I also have to play manager a lot of the time. And like all of the people that we hire right out of college are obviously also like technically Gen Zers. And it's just so crazy because I struggle so hard because like I want to be everybody's friend. I'm a people pleaser at my core. I love hanging out. I also don't want to feel ancient and old. So I'm going to try my best to fit in and befriend all of you. But I also have to like sometimes tell you what to do. And it's so crazy because and I don't know if it's good or bad. They don't respect authority at all.
No, not at all. And I'm like, is this gentle parenting? Like what happened here?
Seriously. And not that I'm a very authoritative figure by any means, but I was like, okay, I have no control over this situation, this conversation, like literally none. It's crazy. So, yeah.
It's really crazy. I know, because I am like genuinely like terrified of authority. Like to this day, I'm like scared of getting an MIP, and I'm like 27. Like,
Totally.
So like part of me is like envious of that, but part of me is like, as a society, we do need to like respect the people who are like kind of in charge. Just like if we ever want to get anything done, right?
100%. I know. Yeah. It's also
but that's
it
me
gives
sounding
me
like a boomer.
Yeah, well, right. There is that too. It gives me the vibe of like you had that one disrespectful kid in class who just would never listen to like a substitute teacher just because they're a sub. It's like that, but constantly 24/7. It's like so crazy.
It's so true. And doesn't that just sound exhausting? Like
That's what I'm saying.
So tiring to be that kid in the classroom. That's so much energy to put forth.
It is. And it's like half the time it can't be worth it. I mean, because it's just so nuts. But yeah, they definitely have a different approach to life. So I totally feel you on that. And you say it's 15-ish students, right?
Yeah, 15-ish students. So yeah. And I do feel, because I've been doing it for like a couple years now, and I do feel like it's like they get more and more like Gen Z with each passing semester.
I know. Well, it's so crazy. I didn't even like when TikTok first this is how I know I'm not Gen Z. When TikTok first like got popular, I didn't really pay attention to it. I was very much a Vine girl back in the day. So if anything, I would like watch the Vine compilations, and that was kind of it. And it wasn't until like for this job, I kind of needed to get a hold on TikTok because our clients all wanted to be on it, that I even like made an account or understood what it was. So I'm definitely slow on the come up as far as what Gen Z cares about.
No, I'm like embarrassed to admit how I use TikTok. So I only downloaded it because it's not letting me like watch the links that my friends sent me like in Safari. And so I was like, I guess I'll make an account because my friends are funny. So I'm like, I'll watch these videos. I still to this day don't have like a For You page curated. I just search the people that I want to watch. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, there's like this 35-year-old like British influencer that I love on Instagram. Like, let's see what she's up to on TikTok. Totally. And I'll go and search her in the little bar. And that's, how I use TikTok. So like major boomer energy.
That is so funny. I know it took me a really long time. Well, For me, TikTok is essentially what like every other platform is for me, regardless, because it's like 50% cat videos and then just like memes. So, which is fine. I clearly have a penchant for those two things. I seek them out across all platforms. So it definitely knows me. But yeah, I kind of feel the same. I'm getting like more used to using it, but I don't, I keep it on like a separate page on my phone so that I don't go on it all the time. Cause I wouldn't say I'm on it a lot, but when I get on it, I sit on it for like an hour, 3 hours.
It's really is addicting. And I haven't been able to sit down and watch like a 30-minute YouTube video in like years.
Same.
Like I could watch like an 8-minute video. Now I'm like just kind of like clicking and watching like maybe a minute and a half of those and then like going on TikTok to like search up and see if they actually like shorten the video themselves to put on TikTok. So yeah, I do feel my like attention span shrinking. And I sometimes think about when I'm like on like TikTok, Instagram, just like scrolling, which I do. I want to like reiterate like all the time. Yeah. I remember an article and it was like, my mom sent it to me and it was about like, I don't know, things you can do to be like happy or something. It was like, no one ever says like the best day of like night of their life was like staying home and like scrolling.
Totally.
Specifically. And I was like, wait, you're right. I'm like watching a movie, like doing like, like an actual activity is like different, but it's the scrolling that I stay home and do all the time.
I know. It's
like
so bad.
You don't look back and be like, wow, I was so happy in that moment.
Yeah, literally.
That's so
not
true.
Even close. Well, I like tried to make it a goal of mine to literally be on my phone less this year. I would say it's come and go in waves. Because sometimes I don't even have enough brain cells to rub together to do anything else. It's like unfortunate how easy it is to get on my phone. It's just so easy. I get on there and then I'm on there for like several hours and it's like, okay, what a waste of time that was. I didn't accomplish anything. I didn't even talk to anybody. I'm just looking at a bunch of things that I don't even really care about.
I know. And then I'm always like, oh, I could have like watched a whole movie and then like had a conversation with someone about it. But instead I'm just watching these like piddly little videos that aren't even funny or entertaining. So I can't even like send them to anyone.
Yeah, right. Oh, totally. I mean, half of it, you got to find the diamond in the rough. So you're searching through a full haystack of bullshit videos just for the good one. It's stupid. It's so stupid. And it's so funny too, because like TV and like, I mean, not all TV is maybe like artistic or whatever, but for the most part, there's like an element of storytelling there that like TV used to be like, oh, TV rots your brain. Now I feel like I would be much more like culturally enriched by watching a television show than getting on my phone and scrolling through TikToks for 4 hours. Like, it's like, what on earth?
No, it's so true. It's like now TV is for intellectuals.
Yeah, literally. That's so sad, but it is true.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go outside more. That's sort of a goal because it's so easy when you work from home to not leave the house.
I know. It really is. Even like taking out the trash or something feels like so big when you're like spending the whole day cozy inside. I did find like this morning I went and got like a coffee and that was a good thing. It's like then you like checked it off your day like right away, but also then you're also spending like $9 on a latte. So I don't know.
Sometimes
I just find that like buying things gets me outside. So
I know I'm in the same boat. As someone who personally loves to spend their money, like I'm all for that. I think giving yourself a little treat is also a good way to just kind of boost morale prior to the workday. I know today my like enrichment time was literally just me opening the windows because I knew I wouldn't get outside anytime soon. So, but at least you can smell it.
Yes, absolutely. I don't even know if I can open my windows. I probably like hypothetically could, but I'm like not physically
in your
strong
whole apartment
to do it. I think my roommate opened the ones outside once and she's like, they were like really hard to open. And I have I have like negative upper body strength. Like my
Same.
whole arm hurt the other day from carrying Chipotle home. Yeah. It was like a 15-minute walk. So I'm just like, I'm not even going to bother with I'll just turn the ceiling fan on and pretend it's the same.
The burrito was enough, literally. No, I'm the same. I mean, I have noodles for arms. It was so funny too because our Airbnb had the smallest staircase of all time. And I just stood at the bottom like, there is no way in hell I'm getting my 50-pound suitcase up these stairs. So that's also another reason why Would highly recommend dating someone who will carry your luggage. That should also be something you put on the Hinge list.
No, and that, I don't know if I've ever dated someone who would do that for me. And I pack and carry-ons.
Plays the saxophone and is willing to lift a 50-pound suitcase are the only requirements.
I'll even pack light. I'll lower my standards, 35 pounds. That's it.
Honestly. It was actually so funny though, because when we were flying out, I don't know if you had the same experience, but everyone at the Heathrow airport was literally having the best day. They were so friendly. All the airport staff was having a great time. I was like, you guys must get paid decent here, because this is the nicest I've ever been treated at an airport in my whole life.
Okay, now that you say that, they did actually check my bag for free, because it was a carry-on size, but I had checked too much, so I had a tote bag too. Yeah, that was really nice. I was probably bringing down the vibe though in the lobby, because I was on the phone with my mom, in borderline in tears, questioning every life decision I've ever made.
That's a natural way to round out vacation. Mm-hmm.
She's like, okay, we can talk about something else. I don't want you crying in the airport. And I'm like, I have truly no shame. what better place is there to cry than in the
There
middle
are no
of
rules
Heathrow?
at an airport, no social ethnicities that need to be considered. Everyone's just doing their own thing. I pretty much every time I fly alone, I think I cry at the airport.
No, and it is I honestly, by the time I got home, because I had to fly from London to Seattle and then backtrack 3.5 hours to Kansas City. So I feel I was just in the airport for way too long. Mm-hmm. And I was also hungover at the start of it. It was just things
there's nothing worse.
It was after piano works. So yeah, things just morale was really, really low. And then I'm sitting in the Seattle airport, and I had realized on the plane that I never got fish and chips when I was over there. So I got them at the Seattle airport, and I'm sitting down to eat them. They don't have my tartar sauce. I'm like, this looks so sad. There's no mushy peas. And this old teen boy, is probably 16, comes over, puts his stuff down on my table, takes out his retainer, puts it in the case, and then walks away. And I'm did you have to do that right here?
As someone who personally wore a retainer for several years, there are a lot of ways to be discreet about it, and that's not it.
I was making eye contact with him the whole time, because I was in such disbelief. It was I was get me home. I need to, I will pay to teleport. This is crazy. Yeah.
Totally. I will say our flight home, even though it was direct, it took way longer. I think because I didn't have you as my conversationalist. I also wasn't sitting by James on that flight. And so I was sitting next to this dad and his honestly, I'm so bad at guessing a kid's age. I'd say he was maybe 13. His son, and they were a part of some, frankly, I'm not sure which one, football or soccer. The uniform said football, of course, but I think they were American. Anyway, so there's a bunch of 13-year-old boys on this flight. They kept coming over and also kind of roughhousing with the dad, who was clearly a coach for the team or something. All the kids knew him, but to the point where I'm getting pushed, and I was okay, all for you guys having all your fun and games, but this is the longest direct flight of my whole life. And it was so funny too, because at one point I got all the food on the way home. I got every food item that they would possibly give me, and they offered ice cream.
A little chocolate one?
Yeah. So of course I got that. I love chocolate ice cream. And so I got that, and the dad didn't take it, but the boy right next to me did also grab the ice cream. And he clearly couldn't figure out how to open it or how to get the spoon. So he kind of looks at me, and I was like, oh, you just go like this. And I guess I don't know what I thought a 13-year-old boy's voice sounds like. Because at this point it had been nonverbal communication only. I just kind of saw him give me a little glance, and I could tell what was going on. And the way that the words thank you came out of his mouth, he was literally thank you. And I was like, what the fuck? I expected the highest pitch, maybe even a crack. Maybe at 13, you're doing the puberty thing and there's a crack in the voice. It was the crazy. I was like, did your dad just say that? What is going on? It was so crazy. So then I was like, I'm going to stop interacting with you.
Yeah, that would like freak me out. I'm like, yeah, not into that.
He was also watching very strange TV on the flight. Like he was watching a lot of, it wasn't like Bob's Burgers, but it was one of those. So I was like, okay, are 13-year-olds allowed to watch that stuff? I don't know what the rules are. This kid's grown.
Yeah. 13 is hard because I feel like I like sat next to one on a flight once before, like maybe around that. And he was like kind of like picking his nose, like just like being gross. Right. And I'm like, you're old enough to like know that that's gross. Like, and like a 5-year-old, like who cares? But like, no, you're like a grown person. Like you should not be like biting every single one of your fingernails off when you're like sitting 2 inches away from someone. In a public place,
right. We're sharing a space right now. He also kept booting me off of the armrest, and I was like, okay, this is...
He's man-spreading, and he is still a boy.
Straight up. Take up space, king. So, long flight home, but we made it in one piece. I know. I'm sad. I like didn't want to come back. It was like nice to be... It was nice to be in my own bed and have like heat. But other than that, would I choose to be in Chicago, Illinois right now? Absolutely not.
Where would be like your next, like your dream vacation? Like money, PTO, not an issue, but you have to come home at some point.
That's a good question. I haven't been to Italy yet at all. So that's definitely a trip that I want to do. So I think that's high on the list. And I want to hit all the stops. Like I want to go to Venice, Florence, Rome, all of it. I think that sounds really fun. But I've never been to like, honestly, I haven't been to a single Asian country. And I'm very curious about it. Would love to go to like Japan, Thailand, Vietnam. I don't know. But I do think in terms of culture shock, that would be sort of crazy because like, I don't know, it's just so unbelievably different over there. I do consume a lot of like Japanese culture. James loves anime. So like we do that sort of thing, but I am curious about those places.
I totally agree. I feel like Tokyo would be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go to that part of the world. I just get so hung up on the flight. I'm like, I feel like you have to go for like, and then also like once you're there, it's like, I want to go to a billion places. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, I don't know. Can you
have to stay over there for like, for a month or something. I know. That's how I feel about like Australia too. Would love to go, but I honestly don't know if I can sit on a flight for that long. I mean, it's like a full day. That sounds like a nightmare.
No, I totally agree. And this will probably make me sound like ignorant because I like don't really know like where things are. But I feel like at this point in my life, if I'm gonna fly that far, I'd rather go to like Bali or like
totally.
Tokyo. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna put. This is where I think my mom thinks I'm like actually crazy. Like sometimes I'll tell her like my decisions and she's like, are you drunk right now? I'm like, no. But I was like, if I'm going to go to Australia right now, like I'm just going to move there for a year. Cause it's like really easy to get like the visa there. So I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to fly out there, I'll just like live there for a while.
I'm going to stay for a year. Yeah. Hilarious. Well, and literally, I mean, you've been essentially trying to leave the US somewhat successfully for several years. So
yes, it's important to like always have a plot, a scheme in your back pocket for like moving internationally. So yeah, Australia is a really surefire bet for anyone who's in the same boat.
That's true.
New Zealand also is very easy to move to for like.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Did you have your interview?
Oh yes, I did today. I don't know how it went.
That was today. Crazy.
Yes. We'll see how it goes. I'll hear in like 2 days or so. So I'm kind of nervous, but I'm like, I'll trust the timing. I can always like reapply.
Totally. Well, and when you have told me in the past about like just like when you went back to London, which is the dream, all of us wanted to do it and you actually made the damn thing happen. But the way that your grad school program sounded like the biggest scam in the whole wide world is like so crazy.
No, it truly was Trump University, but like the UK version.
And honestly, we all have to find our own path to the place that we want to be. And the fact that they paid for your housing and your tuition, that's really all you can ask for.
No, it's just like funny because no part of me like wanted, like really cared about the master's degree. And I'm actually like really judgmental and bitchy about going to school, back to school to get a master's in like a field that doesn't require it at all. Like, for example, marketing. So I feel like the only way I can
That's
like
so
sleep
true.
at night without like feeling like a total hypocrite is because it was like a total sham.
Yeah. It's literally so funny. I'm like, didn't you say the school like literally went bankrupt or something?
Yeah, they got in trouble for like immigration fraud because they would like admit people and have them like pay and stuff, but then the students like would never come to class, and then they owed the government like a bunch of money. So they had to shut down like most of their majors.
That's like insane, honestly. But shout out to them for keeping the doors open because you stayed there when you visited. You stayed in your dorm.
Yes, and the dorm was great. The dorm was like a wonderful location. It was like a joint scholarship, so like the tuition came from the university, and then like the like room and board came from the dorm. So yeah, the dorm was like perfect location.
Oh my God, you were so central to everything.
Yeah,
That's
it was.
awesome.
And like looking back, it's actually crazy that happened. Like, I don't know. There's just like certain things in my life where I'm like, was that real? Like the time like after study abroad when I lived in a sorority house, like in Kansas City. I didn't go to school here. I didn't know any of the girls. And I was like sharing a room with one of them.
I completely forgot that you did that.
It wasn't furnished. So like she was like a student there, had like a full matching like huge bed, like great dresser, blah, blah, blah. And I am literally sleeping on a twin-sized air mattress, and all of my stuff is just being stored in a laundry basket.
That is literally the most Abby Mackinnon shit I've ever heard in my whole life. That was also so funny. Kansas City, is that the SEC?
Yes, yeah. Well, Mizzou was in the SEC. KC, the schools here, I don't know if they really have like football teams.
Okay. Because I was going to say, like, those schools also take their sororities somewhat seriously. So the fact that you're just riding it out is like so awesome.
It was like truly wild because I went to one of the like big like mansion houses. So I figured when they're like, oh, you can live in like the 80 pie house, because I had reached out to a girl like looking to see if I could like sublease from someone, because at Mizzou everyone was always looking for a summer subleaser. And and also the only reason I had to do this was because I was interning at an insurance brokerage, and all of the other interns who were from out of town got like luxury apartments. But I was the one communications intern and was specifically not offered housing. So that's when I knew I was going to be underpaid and undervalued for my whole career.
Literally. Oh my God, that's so funny. That is such that's so telling of the line of work that we chose. Yeah.
It really was. And that's why like truly 2017 just like holistically, I think like perfectly encapsulates like my entire life.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I completely forgot that you did that. That is sort of incredible. Also, definitely you survived it. That's like a survival story, frankly. I know. Well, even being back in London, I was like, I obviously want to go back still. That's the dream. Would love to live there. But it was very interesting this time to hear about how many people were complaining about rent, because I feel like it's always been on all of the like most expensive city lists and whatever. But I don't feel like last time that I was there, I heard people complain about it as much as I did this time.
Well, what I found like really crazy when I was living there, so this was also, everyone was like recent grads, and a lot of like my friends, like we worked in like the service industry and stuff, but like salaries there would be like 25,000 pounds a year, which is so crazy because like you would not
even livable.
No, exactly. Like the salaries were really, really low, and then now there's like this cost of living crisis going on. So like one of my friends that I like got dinner with there was like, she's like from Kansas City originally. And she was like, I like can't afford to live here. She's like, I'm making more money now. Like, you know, I'm like progressing my career. I think she like lives in a cheaper place, but she's still like, it's just like impossible to like get ahead. And it does suck when like you get old enough for that stuff to like kind of become a factor. Yeah,
I know. I was so naive before. I could just live in the dream.
And like ignorance is bliss. Like truly. I loved that. Yeah.
Stay in that as long as you can. I know. And just even thinking about like the actual logistics of picking up and moving, and by no means am I like I don't know. I still rent. I do I do all of those things where I'm mobile, but like I'm starting to accumulate things. Like, even that is like, how would I pick up and move? I would love to, but how would I do that at this point in my life? It sounds crazy.
No, it's so true. I used to always say that like my goal was to be able to fit everything I own in my Ford Focus so I could just leave in the middle of the night if I needed to. My friends were like, Abby, where are you going? Like,
literally. Where are you have to jet off to in the black of night?
Yeah, but I do feel like I've officially like outgrown like jam packing everything I have into a Ford Focus. Maybe a midsize SUV, but I don't have one of those.
We did upgrade the car. Yeah. We have 4-wheel drive, etc. I know. Well, and even just thinking about like taxes, health insurance, those kinds of things, which, in 2017 were just faint whispers, not things that I was actually considering whatsoever. And so it does kind of put everything into reality, I suppose, for better or for worse.
It's so true. Yeah. Growing up sucks.
Wouldn't recommend.
Just you wait, Gen Z.
Yeah,
literally. You'll be cringe too.
Honestly. You don't want to be like us, but you have honestly no choice. Yeah. The cards are not in your favor. Well, thank you for coming on this podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such a delight.
Well, and we should I always forget to do this, so I'm trying to get better. We should do Rose and a Thorn of the trip. I think that would be a good section of time. Best part, worst part, and something you could improve upon for next time.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Okay, you go first. I have to think.
So I think for me, best part was not to be a cop-out answer, but because it was very unexpected and it was just so surreal to be in that place with you. It was just so crazy and it was so much fun. It just added, it's so fun to be able to say that I went over to London and got to hang out with a friend because that's also sort of the dream.
It makes it sound like so worldly.
We are such world travelers. We have friends in all sorts of places. So yeah, definitely that was the highlight of my whole trip, without a doubt. Worst part, the no heat in the Airbnb. I think that takes the cake. Also, I was bummed about the weather, I will say. It was not as nice as I wanted, and I certainly packed all of the wrong clothes. So for me, wearing my shitty airport outfit for 8 days straight was certainly not what I had planned, as someone who loves to use clothes as a form of self-expression. So that was a bit of a bummer. Something I could improve upon for next time. Picking a better Airbnb, 100%, no questions about it. We're going to go for the one that costs $20 extra, or maybe a hotel. Because honestly, there is something, hotels are at least, you know exactly what you're going to get. So there is that to consider. And then I would also say packing better. And I don't know why I am so bad about it, but I need to get in the habit of wearing sensible shoes during trips because I love a heel. I
did hear about the heels along the canals. That one pained me.
I know. And it's like, what am I thinking? I love heels. I wear them all the time. But on vacation, it just doesn't make sense. All you do is walk. And so definitely not a wise choice.
Well, I feel like those are all really great takeaways to go to bring to your Italian trip, which I'm dying for you guys to take out. You guys would have so much fun.
How about you?
Okay, I would say my rose was definitely all the people that I got to see. I feel like I saw everyone that I could have hoped to see and way more with you and James. So it was so fun to really use that time to catch up with everyone and spend quality time. And then my thorn, this is again going to make me sound so old, but the hangovers, I had some really, really, really fun nights, but then I just felt it in the morning. And there was one day where the weather was gorgeous. I think this would have been Thursday, before Piano Works. The weather was gorgeous. I was out with Lexi. We're having a great time going to museums and stuff, but we were both just kind of we're hungover. So the most we can be right now is a 7 out of 10 when this is a 10 out of 10 day. So that was
Totally.
just kind of like, I'm not as young as I used to be. So yeah.
I know it's a very tough realization to come by. I felt that way too, and we actually had a really hard time getting on the right sleep schedule. So we were sleeping in and we were staying up late, and not on purpose. It's not like I was doing anything with my evenings because, like you said, everything closed at 10 p.m. So yeah, I felt like I wasted a lot of mornings, which is also somewhat of a regret.
Yes, I know. And it's that like really hard balance, because it's like, I don't regret the nights out. Like I had so much fun, but then it's like the repercussions of that. Yeah. It's just like, I'm so old. And then something to improve on. Okay, this is like bigger than like the trip, but it's also like really small. That made it sound existential. I need to like figure out how to clean my leather jacket because it is currently like giving me the biggest ick of my life, because I'm like, this has been thrown around, like used, abused.
Yes.
And like, even like by the end of the trip, like I'm in the airport, I'm just like, oh, like I don't like want this to be like touching my body right now. And so that's something that I could really improve, is like my like jacket hygiene.
I'm going through the exact same thing right now, but with my jean jacket. I wear my denim jacket everywhere. And I had it on yesterday, and I was looking at the sleeves, because you know the sleeves, you touch everything with your wrists, whatever. I was like, these are disgusting. How have I not noticed this sooner? I was like, I need to strip this off of my body immediately and hose it down with disinfectant. Like, I was like, this is so gross. I can't believe I've been walking around like this in public. Like, literally disgusting. The rim of it is like caked with makeup. I don't even know how. I mean, I was like, this is sort of appalling, and I feel like I usually take better care of myself than this, so I'm sort of disappointed in myself.
Absolutely. I know. And it's like, and my winter coats are the same way. I'm like, these are like,
I know.
These are not okay. But just the thought of like driving, I don't even know where to find a dry cleaner. Like, do tailors do dry cleaning?
Well, and I don't really have an excuse, because I think I could probably throw my jean jacket in the laundry. But I feel you on that, because I have a lot of things. That's something they don't teach you upon growing up. I've accumulated a lot of clothing items that say dry clean only. I have quite literally never dry cleaned a single thing, which means none of that stuff has been washed. That's disgusting.
If it's like clothing items, I'll just kind of like throw it in like, and put a Tide Pod and like put it on like cold delicate wash, and then they like come out with like a half a Tide Pod stuck to them, and it's like the nice shit that's you're supposed to take to the dry cleaner. So yeah, I really am like not one to talk about like the like hair quality, but it is hard when it's like you want to start like buying like nicer things, you know. But
I'm
then
trying
it's like
to invest.
Yeah, but I can't like invest the time or resources in like actually taking care of them. So like maybe I should
commit
just
to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. I should just be buying my $4 sweatshop clothes, because those you could wash those 1,000 times and they might disintegrate, but they won't shrink. I'll tell you that.
It's so true.
Oh, that is a good life lesson. And no one tells you to wash your jackets, because they're usually like second, maybe third or fourth layer. So they often get forgotten about, but they are something that you do need to wash, because mine's disgusting.
Well, and you figure it's like, okay, it's like fourth layer. So it's not like touching my body, but it's touching all of the elements, which is way nastier. Like I shower.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. But the booth that I'm sitting in at this restaurant has probably not been cleaned in over 10 years. So this is disgusting. Yeah. It's kind of like hard to be alive, but those are good takeaways as well. I think those will take you far in life.
Absolutely. I'll keep you updated if I ever like wash my leather jacket, which I've had for like 4 years. Oh my God. I like can't can't even talk about it.
I'm sort of in the same boat. So at least you have a sister in this mission.
We can be accountability partners.
Well, thank you for joining me, and thank you guys for listening. It was literally so fun just to do this again and have you back on the podcast, and to take you all on this crazy journey that was Study Abroad 2.0. So thank you. Bye. Another cathartic convo in the books. I feel better. How about you? Thank you so much for listening. Now I just want to jump on here and say, don't forget to follow and or subscribe to the pod on your favorite streaming platform for new episodes every single week, because I know you can't get enough of me. Additionally, if you want to gain access to exclusive episodes and lots of other goodies, join our Patreon and support the pod with your hard-earned American dollars. You can find the link in our show notes, or you can also visit us at patreon.com/pessimistic@best. And of course, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at pessimistic@best. And if you're as obsessed with me as I am with you, you can find me at Sam Georgeson on all platforms. And last but not least, I'd like to give a special shout out to my podcast editor and producer, the love of my life, James Arbai, whom I literally could not do this without. So thank you, James. I love you so much. And thank you guys for joining me again this week. I love you too, and I cannot wait to chat with you again soon.